Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of a Junior VC Behind the Scenes. This week, I have Raj and Path with me, and they're going to talk to you about our piece this week. Can Mamaearth be the mother of beauty brands? So, Raj, can you get us started by telling our audience why we chose to write about this piece?
Right. We are always, all of us here, we are aware of how the recent news of funding slowdown and the startup hiring has got to the ecosystem. But then amidst all of that, there are beacons of hope, Mamaearth being one of them. Uh, they have turned profitable with even last year they were very minuscule losses, and this year now they're profitable. One of the D2C brands to become profitable at a unicorn valuation, and next year 2023 they are seeking to go public with almost 3 billion valuation. So that's immense, and we thought why don't we deep dive into Mamaearth's story. A lot of interesting, a very interesting journey that Varun and Ghazal Alag had when they went ahead starting Mamaearth. As we have seen, most of the problems, most of the founders who started their own companies and built enduring businesses, they essentially took up solving problems that they faced themselves and said that if there are no solutions available in the market, I'm going to go head on and take it up myself. See, very similar story with Varun and Ghazal. The Alag couple found out when Ghazal was pregnant in 2015, 2016, that the Indian baby care product was flooded with generics, and those generics are laden with toxins which are not um, safe to be applied on the tender skin of young babies. And the problem got aggravated when Agastya, who is Ghazal's first child, he developed a condition of eczema. So then, a desperate mother, she had to resort to asking her friends and family who were returning from US to bring back baby care products, which could be applied on Agastya. And that's when Varun, who has long work experience with FMCG companies such as Unilever and managed Smirnoff for India, uh, decided that we should take this challenge up. We should create a brand for the parents, a trusted brand of personal care, and we would start Asia's first brand that is certified by MaidSafe. MaidSafe is an NGO from US, which essentially is the gold standard for not having toxins in your product. So that's how Mamaearth started in December of 2016. What's more interesting is that when they started, the Indian D2C market was just warming up. A couple of years into it, Mukesh Ambani was digging up Indian grounds, not to find oil, but to lay fiber optic cables to launch Geo subsequently. Smartphone penetration isn't obviously as much as it is right now, but um, it was just catching up. It wasn't a luxury anymore. And overall, the D2C market was yet not as cluttered as the offline retail market. A very smart move that they did was that one, they decided to go D2C as one of the earliest brands to get into this space. They realized that in a retail space, if they keep their product amongst 500 other products in a shelf, the only thing that would come closer, that the products would come closer to, is not their consumers, but to their expiry date. So that's when they said, we're going to create a brand with which our consumers resonate, where the customers understand that there's a very clear purpose of why they're purchasing Mamaearth products. And the reason was so apparent and could be so convincing that they could actually come back to it again and again and again. In that way, increasing the lifetime value of the customer. So much so that the motto was, we're going to create safest products in India, which could be used on your baby, because every mom wants the best for the child. Um, and the purpose is while users are making a purchase on Mamaearth's website, they have a mission, and the mission is every purchase is tagged to a plant which gets, you know, which whose geolocation and the species is shared with the customer, so that if they ever wanted, they could actually visit that location to see the plant grow. And that's how Mamaearth kicked off. Within 6 7 months, they reached a revenue run rate of 25 to 30 lakhs, and that's when they decided to do their pre-seed. They got participation from angels and institutional funds. And that's when they realized that maybe it's time for them to move out of using Flipkart, Amazon, and FirstCry as their e-commerce partners to ship their products into having their own website. There are multiple advantages of doing that. The moment you have your own website, you tend to map out the customer journey so much so that you exactly know what to show to your customer, how to retarget your ads, how to position products which are personalized for every individual customer who visits the website. Um, that is the further wave of growth which got them to almost a 1 CR revenue run rate. And that's when Stellaris and Fireside came in. And by that time, Varun and Ghazal had created a brand which uh, the customers recognized, which the moms absolutely loved. And that's when they decided to get into the omni-channel business, which is having a retail space. Curious to understand why it resonated so much with the moms. Obviously, when Ghazal started, she was an IT trainer by profession. So she did not have quote unquote product management experience. So what did she do? She went to the very basics. She said that I'm going to create a brand for the moms, so I might as well start listening to the moms who are going to buy my product. And every week she would have hundreds of feedback meals and hundreds of sessions with her customers just to understand what is going right, what's going wrong, go back to the formulations drawing board, and only then sanction a batch to be produced. That's why she ensured that she is very, very close to her customers, and the customers in turn really love them. Parth, would you want to maybe talk a bit about what happened after that? There was a great going. The D2C wave had caught up, but then eventually, what happened to Mama?
Yeah, so Mamaearth was in a very interesting segment. So couple of things happened. So India was growing uh, at a quite a fast pace. So between, let's say, when Mamaearth started, so India was still growing at more than 8%, one of the fastest growing economy in the world. Now, when the GDP grows, something else also happens simultaneously, that your private consumption keeps on increasing. Now, India obviously have a massive population. So India's private consumption was like 60% of the GDP. Um, and the entire growth was coming from the private consumption. So more than 70% of the growth was coming from the private consumption. And multiple things happened because of the population. So India had 60 million households, which was categorized as upper middle class and high income class. India had like 2 million users which were using internet at that particular point. Um, so there were two choices. First was the childcare market, which was fine, where people where the parents were protective, and it was like at $3 million. But the beauty care market was also one of the options which Mamaearth decided that eventually they have to get into that, because uh, one just cannot be build something and just remain there, because there were other FMCG players, and they were big players like Johnson and Johnson or HUL, or for that matter P&G. Just to give you an example, Nestle, who is one of the biggest player in the childcare food market, so basically infant food market. So they have like 96% market share in In the infant food market, they have a product called lactogen NAN. So it's a massive business, and they hold like 96% of the market. Though the market is small, close to like 500 700 crores, but yes, they have a big market. Now, if you just talk about the other products which are used by the kids, so food is one, then the diapers, and then some of the accessories, it still have like 60 70% of the market, but it's quite distributed. So there are some other smaller players in the market as well. So what happened? So distribution is again one challenge. So Raj mentioned about it. So then, how do you tackle the problem of distribution? That was one of the biggest question mark for Mama. So obviously, you have omni-channel presence. You can actually go to physical, but that actually requires a lot of time, energy, money, and they never had that kind of a bandwidth. So how do you do that? So of course, first stage was just list your products on Amazon or Flipkart where they will provide you the distribution. Customers are then anyway coming on the website, but again, that is somebody else's distribution. How do you create your own distribution? That's where they decided that let's try the social media route. India had 200 million plus people who were using social media at that point in time, and people were creating content and people are consuming content. So why not go to that path? And at that particular point, there were not enough. So there was no influencer marketing kind of a concept. So Mamaearth was one of the first players who introduced the concept that let's use content creators to influence their customers for your products basically, and that's where the entire concept of influencer marketing started, and it's still picking up in D2C and then variety of the other products, for example fintech, etc. Till date, influencer marketing is one of the biggest route which companies use or most of the startups use. um, and then there were clear strategy that let's use influencers, but then what kind of influencers then? So they picked up and then they categorized that yes, there are female influencers, but there are some influencers who are actually moms. So let's use that, and that's where they roped in Shilpa Shetty, who was influencer at that point. So Shilpa Shetty invested in Mamaearth as well. Um, but yes, she was the one who started the entire concept of influencer marketing, and Mamaearth leveraged. They started with a blog marketing again with moms, uh, more number of Instagram stories, etc. So leverage anything which with respect to kids, with respect to parents, with respect to moms, and that's where. And the results were evident. So in like 3 years, in just 3 years, Mama reached a revenue of 100 crores. And that was pretty impressive fit because one of the other competitors, for example, Revlon took like 20 years to reach a similar milestone. So when you just compare 20 years versus like just 3 years, it's an amazing feat, I must say. And then the path was set that let's go into beauty care market, let's increase our margins, because in the childcare, of course, margins are higher, but you cannot just defend it because as soon as you have the margins, other bigger FMCG players will definitely try and come in. Um, but yes, that's the entire journey with respect to uh, uh, the next stage of foundation, which was set by Mama.
Interesting. And then, Mazen, of course, we can talk about while this foundation has been set, where does the company build on top of this foundation? Um, One very important thing to touch upon is that they closed the FI with almost 460 CR of revenue, um, and which is almost a 4x jump compared to the last FI. And they turned profitable. They turned in almost 30 CR, 25 to 30 CR of profit, which um, for a D2C brand to achieve with the unicorn status is a huge achievement and a testament to the efficiency that they bring in. So the unit economics look like this, that almost with an average order value of 900 rupees, the CAC is roughly at 40%. And keeping the cost of goods and logistics aside, Mamaearth still has 14% to cover the costs of the team. Now, at a 1 billion valuation with profit of roughly 25, 27 CR, it looks like the the forward multiples are above the publicly traded companies. But at the same time, what's very important and interesting to watch is that, as you know, just like Part said, Revlon took almost 20 years to reach um, a 100 CR revenue mark, which Mamaearth took 3 years. So that rate of growth makes Mamaearth a very exciting proposition for investors. And that's why when it IPOs next year at a valuation of roughly 3 billion, even though the forward revenue multiples look higher than their peers, the merit lies in the rate of growth which Mamaearth has been able to achieve. And even the range of products that they're selling, the baby care and the personal care market runs to a large extent on the trust that your brand has built amongst your consumers, the word of mouth, also known as the influencer marketing, and how well you are able to relentlessly execute on all the optimizing capabilities. For example, your logistics costs, your inventory turnover, and ensuring that at scale the cost of goods also comes down. Lots of exciting things happening. The Indian D2C market is now open up, and of course the Alag family are prolific investors, prolific and angel investors in Indian startups. So you're very bullish on the concept of Mamaearth, and in my opinion it might be the mother of all brands. And the recent pivot or an supplementary strategy that they have taken is, along with being a D2C customer, they've also uh, tried to replicate this model by acquiring other brands such as Bland and Momspresso, and create a house of brands under Honasa Consumer, which is the parent operating entity of Mamaearth. And as we have seen, the house of brands concept, the Trashware style concept, has been an immense hit in India. Mensa brands becoming one of the fastest unicorns. We have Goat Brand Labs recently raising their round. Uh, so one, profitable D2C, and number two, a house of brands concept. So that, to a large extent, in my opinion, justifies the forward revenue multiples. What do you think, Mother?
Totally agree, Raj. It certainly is a fascinating story and sounds like they have a bright future leading up to the IPO. Thank you so much, Raj and Path, and thank you everyone for joining us this week. We'll see you again next week.